Hi guys, welcome back to the Primrose channel. I'm Primrose and this is your safe space for healing, self-care and rediscovery. If you're new here, welcome, and please don't forget to subscribe this channel and like and share. It really helps my channel grow. Today I am going to do a video that is very personal to me. I am going to be talking about my experience with therapy. I lost my sister November 2025 after her struggle with depression, and today I want to share what being in therapy has helped me and what has not helped. After losing my sister, my world was shattered. I felt like over time, I felt like I was handling it. I felt like I was coping. I would have days where I feel like, actually, I've got this, it's been a week or 2 weeks I haven't cried. And I would feel like I'm handling it. And then it would be like literally the simplest thing that would happen to me that would make me cry. Sometimes I'll be driving and I will see someone with braids, because my sister used to love her braids. I used to do her braids all the time. And sometimes I can be in the car and then I'll see like a girl wearing glasses with braids that could actually just send me off, and I would find myself just completely breaking down and crying. And it made me realize that grief is so linear, because you have good days and bad days. But I think it got to a point where I felt like I couldn't emotionally handle the grief alone. I needed to speak to someone. And it's not because I didn't have anyone to speak to. I have lovely friends, I have family, I have cousins, I have my partner who I would speak to about this, but I felt like I needed to speak to somebody that didn't know the situation. I needed somebody that would just listen without not giving me too much questions. So this is when I then considered therapy. My background is I'm a registered mental health nurse. So again, it's quite difficult when you already work in the area or in the sector where you're trying to get support. Because if you're a profession, you would know this. If you're a doctor or a nurse by background, you would know, like, when you get ill, the last thing you want to do is go and get medical help, because you already work in the area. So you almost have this weird feeling that you know it all and you know how to handle it. And I think for me, that's what it was. I felt like I help people at work processing grief, going through trauma, or help people with their mental health challenges. And it felt almost weird that I wanted help. At some point, I even felt like, is this a weakness? I should know what to do with grief. I should know the different stages of grief: anger, resentment, confusion, depression. I should know this. So why do I need to get help? But I knew that it was time, and I knew that I needed to do it for myself. And before I started therapy, I think I had so many conceptions in my head, because I was thinking, the therapist is going to judge me, like, you already work in the mental health industry, why are you getting therapy? I felt like maybe I was going to be forced to talk about everything, or I was going to be analyzed, or they were going to look too much into my, personal history and judge me. And sometimes I even thought, what if it doesn't help? What if I'll just go and talk about my grief and everything else, and I'll come out feeling worse? What if talking about it is going to make it worse? So these were all just questions that were going through my head. But therapy for me felt like I was walking into a place where, especially with somebody that didn't know me, it's almost like I felt like I didn't have to pretend. I felt like I just could be me and say what I was going through without not being ashamed. And I remember my first session, because I think when my sister passed away in November, I started therapy January. So probably like 2 months after. And I remember my first session, because I had all these questions in my head, like, oh, what are they going to make me talk about? And the therapist, he was really lovely. He was just like, hi, Primrose, where do you want to start? And I remember I just cried. Like, I just cried for like 10 minutes. And this man, I think he was Welsh, this Welsh man just sat there just looking at me, and I just cried. And I was just like, I miss my sister so much. There was no like a plan or what I have to say. The way he made me feel so comfortable made me feel like I could open up. And I just say to him, I miss my sister so much. I have so many questions, why she left, why things had to happen the way it did. And I think there was a lot of guilt, you know, from being an older sister to like, could I have done anything better? You know, why didn't I pick up any signs that she was struggling? And then I would go through the thoughts of thinking, yeah, but I can't be selfish because she was the one that was struggling, and you know what she did had nothing to do with me. So my mind was just, you know, pulling from one hand to another, and my session was just very therapeutic for me because I felt like I could just be. I could just say anything I wanted. And I remember after that session, he then was like, okay, so we got that out of the way. What would you like to talk about next time? And then they will give you points like, okay, maybe next time let's talk about how you're feeling in the moment. Or maybe next time let's talk about the person that you've lost. Or maybe next time let's talk about how the week has been. So there was no pressure around how I needed to show up and what therapy looked like. I think sometimes when people hear therapy, they think, oh my God, you're going to see a shrink, they're going to go in your brain, they're going to say this is wrong with you, this is wrong with you. And it was never like that at all. And I also want to be honest, therapy isn't magical. There were sessions that I didn't want to go, that I felt like, oh, today is just not the day that I want to deal with this. And then you'll find if you've gone through something traumatic, or if you're currently in therapy or consider going therapy, or maybe something really hard has happened in your life, there are times when you simply just don't want to talk about it. You don't want to deal with it. And that's with everything in life. You get times where you're like, today is just not the day, yo. I don't want to deal with it. But once you get past that stage, it's really important to take out what's in there to put it out, whether you're writing it down or whether you're speaking to someone. Because what you don't want to do is let your thoughts marinate to a point now it causes you depression or anxiety. And healing therapy as well helped me to sit in very uncomfortable situation. It helped me to sit with my uncomfortable emotions. Things like I can't control everyone, or I can't control everything, and I can't simply run away from my problems, or I can't simply decide not to talk about something and expect it to go away. Sometimes that can work. Like you could go through a time where you feel like, you know what, I don't want to talk about this thing that's happened to me. Let me just bury it. It might work. It might even work for years, and one way or another it will come out when you're married, or when you start a new job, or when you move houses, or when you move city, or when you feel like you're in a best space of your life. Something will come up to the surface because you cannot outrun pain. You have to face it. And I just want to emphasize that therapy didn't erase my grief. I'm not sitting here saying I went to therapy and then I grieved my sister and I'm over it now. No, it didn't erase it. Therapy opened a space for me to be able to move on with my life, and whilst holding space for my sister. It gave me the strength to be able to hold pain and understand it, that it's okay for me to miss her. It's okay for me to have moments of where I question things. It's okay for me to sit with that pain, but it's also okay for me to move on with my life, and it's okay for me to be happy. Because sometimes when something traumatic has happened in your life, you question if you should be happy. You question if you deserve certain things in life, and therapy helped me understand that I do deserve good things in life. I do deserve to move on with my life. I do deserve to acknowledge that painful things has happened, but also I can move past it. And I think also my faith really helped, because I just don't want to sit here and say, yeah, go to therapy, pay a professional. If you're somebody that believes in God, you will resonate with this part. Like I felt like my faith really helped. I felt like every time I felt scared, or I felt confused, or I had so many questions, I did pray about it. I did pray for God to give me strength to just face each day, because there were times that I just didn't want to continue with life. Not that like I had thoughts of harming myself, but I didn't see the point. I didn't see the point of going to the gym. I'm gonna say this, and I've said this in my other video, my healing video. Gym is something that I enjoy doing, not for weight loss purposes, but it's like, you know, when you have a hobby, yeah, it's like a hobby. And when I was going through grief, I didn't enjoy going to the gym. Eating was something that I didn't want to do. Eating, I felt like I'm just eating for the for the purpose of eating and not because I enjoyed it. You know, things like watching YouTube videos, my Netflix shows, things that I really used to enjoy, I lost interest, I lost motivation. And that's why I then realized that I needed help. You know, my partner will say, you're no longer the same person. And it's true. When you've been through a traumatic event or traumatic situation in your life, you will lose a part of you. And I definitely believe that I lost a part of me when my sister passed away. But I also don't want to make that my identity. And I've always said that to my partner and my friends, that I loved my sister so much and I still love her till this day. But what I never want to do is I do not want to use her death as my identity, because she lived her life. She was more than her depression. She was more than her struggles, you know, like she was a medical student. She was so smart and so beautiful. I'm sorry. Yeah, so she lived her life, and I would want to think that she would want me to live mine. So yeah, therapy didn't erase that, but it helped me to be able to carry the pain in a very compassionate way, in an understanding way, in a way that it removes any guilt on my part. So if you're watching this video and you've been thinking about getting therapy, whether it's for grief or whether it's for something that you've experienced, or whether it's just you just want to understand yourself more, I want you to know that it's okay to want support. Please do not ever feel embarrassed. And I think sometimes it can be a cultural thing as well. Like my background is I'm Zimbabwean, and you know, being from an African background, not a lot of people are open to like therapy, because it's almost like, why are you going to talk to somebody else about your problems, you know? So I do understand, but don't ever, if you're thinking about getting therapy, don't let it seem like it's something to be embarrassed about. It doesn't mean that you're weak to seek help. And therapy isn't only for breakdowns. It's not only something that you take on when you've experienced a trauma event, or when you're trying to process something that's happened in the past. It can also just be for breakthrough. It can be a safe space for you to explain and express, and maybe for you also to find yourself. Therapy is so healing, and I feel like it's very difficult for me. And I feel like I am proud of myself for having to do that, because as a therapist myself in my job, it has showed me like a different view to like being somebody that's receiving it. And I would definitely, you know, encourage you to get therapy. Like I've said to my friends, I'm like, guys, if ever you have the funds, if ever you have the time, please go and, you know, sign yourself up for therapy. And I know a lot of people will say in this video like, oh, but how will I afford it? You know, there's things like BetterHelp that helps with therapy. There's things like if you type on your Google, on internet, find free therapy service near me. Things like talking therapies is free, so you can do video or telephone calls, or just simply go to your GP and ask them to refer you for therapy. It is free, guys. You can get it for free. You don't have to pay for it. And if you're watching this video and you've lost somebody, I just want to say I am so sorry for your loss. Grief is heavy, but remember, you don't have to carry it alone. Seeking help doesn't mean you're weak. For me, it was one of the bravest things that I've ever done for myself. And thank you for being here with me, and thank you for listening to something so personal. I know this video is different to the other type of personal growth and mindset videos that I do. And if you have considered, or if you're currently doing therapy, I would like to know your experience with it. So please comment in the section below. And if no one has told you this lately, your healing matters, your feelings are valid, and you deserve support. Thank you guys for watching this video, and if you've enjoyed this video, I'd like you to like, comment, share. And if you've watched this video and you've reached the end and you have not subscribed to my channel, why? Subscribe to my channel, guys, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.